Good morning, friends. I hope that you're having a pleasant Sunday morning. Today, what I want to do is talk about a subject called choices. We all have them. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, to when we get into the car and when we drive, to our education, to our career choices, and the choices of staying at home. And as well as medical care, in the choices we make in terms of protecting our bodies, to nourishing our bodies, diets, all of that. Our world is full of so many options that we get to choose from. And sometimes being an adult, it's not so easy to make choices. Well, that's what the younger generation says. You didn't warn me about this. First, I would like to share a scripture verse of Galatians chapter 6, verses 6 through 7. It says, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." So whatever you do, whatever happens as a result, is really your choosing. "Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Those who sow to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life." I know that's kind of harsh words. Sowing from our flesh, what does that mean? It means doing for ourselves and not for others. Doing for ourselves without any care in the world, but doing for the Spirit, doing it for the Lord, doing it for, the other realm of which you believe in. For me, it's my job is to honor God. Doesn't mean I can be a doormat, and I refuse to be one. I have been one, not intentionally. It just happened because nice people get walked on. But that being said, we all have choices, and this world has been flipped upside down more than once, more than twice, a bazillion times it seems like. We've gone from the viral load to choices in how we were going to tend to our bodies. Those were choices. And what happened is people made choices on both sides of the spectrum. And one was to demean those who didn't fulfill their requirements, and to shame people. Then there's the other side that is fighting back, just like women fight to have choices for their bodies. And then you have the middle of the ground people who are just listening and trying to grasp the full concept of what is going on. We should not be shamed. We should be having conversations. And that doesn't always happen, which is unfortunate. Now, here in Proverbs chapter 12, verses 15, "The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice." The way I see this is, again, we're talking conversations. We're talking, you don't go have a medical procedure without having a conversation, unless you are in a position where you're in so much pain you have no choice. Bam, you have it done. But you don't buy a house without a conversation. You don't buy a car without having a conversation. You don't succumb to social pressure or even medical pressure without a conversation. And unfortunately, that has happened. We didn't have enough conversation. All we had was do this or don't. Now, a lot of this has subsided some, except in the medical community. We still have people that shame those who choose not to get medical intervention, and choose to shame those, whether they have to them a legitimate reason or not. And for those who have medical reasons, it doesn't matter to these people. You are still shamed, and a lot of them say some very unkind things. Now, those are choices. Now, we're talking about food shortages, and what do we believe? Well, if you're listening to the news, I don't, because I don't get news. What I'm doing is going to different news sources, going to places that I know, that I trust. I've learned to trust over the years. Looks like a spider or a mosquito. Well, anyways, it wants my blood. And so we have a choice to decide if this is true or not. If we remember back to Y2K2, we were told that everything electronic was going to go down. It's kind of the same approach, okay? We're putting the fear into people. But a lot of that, if you think back, I know that when we went through that, we belonged to a church, and they were encouraging people to stock their pantries and so forth. And people were, but I was amazed at what they stocked. There were foods that they did not consume on a normal basis. And then when the fear subsided, all that food was discarded and donated or whatever. And the donation, I think that's a great idea. But people were buying foods that they normally would not buy. Now, do I think that there's going to be a food shortage? It's going to be totally different than the Y2K if this comes to fruition. Can this be stopped? Absolutely. There are things that can be done if the higher-ups would choose to do it. We need a country praying diligently. We need to have people who are willing to speak up. So, what do? People are telling you, you need to stock up. Some people are quite adamant and mean about it. People are saying you should grow gardens. I was listening to one person that I listen to a lot, and she was shaming people if they didn't have a large garden. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, hon. I don't have a large piece of property. I live on a 1/4 acre lot. I'm growing a garden because I chose to grow a garden. I didn't grow it because of a fear that was going to come, a few months later. That's not why I did it. I did it so that we could have some extra food because we want to conserve our resources because we need to. With the gas prices going up, it's costing more for my husband to go to work. Electricity, utilities, all of those have almost doubled. So we're making choices as to how can we cut back. And one of them is, it cost me a little to get, the garden going. It cost us a little bit to convert an old gazebo into a greenhouse. And then we decided on chickens. That did not come cheap because the cost of that chicken coop was more than it should have cost because of the price of wood. So if you see where I'm getting at, a lot of things are costing a lot of money for everybody, and not everybody can do it. We made a choice to do that because it's an investment in our future. We're choosing no vacation. We haven't gone on vacation in so long. I don't know. I think the last one was when my youngest went to college. But that being said, I know we went on another 3-day week getaway at one point. I don't remember how long ago it was. But we choose not to. We do day trips. We might, do this or that. But we don't necessarily go on long vacations because it's not in our budget. Am I upset about that? No. Am I upset that other people get to enjoy those kind of vacations? Not at all. I think it's wonderful that people can do that, and that's what they enjoy doing. They should be able to do that. And the same holds true for those who choose to preserve food or to stock their pantries with food so they don't go hungry if this does come to fruition. Now, I think the worst of it's going to be is the cost. We will not have foods coming in from other countries. So if you have foods that you enjoy from elsewhere, you might have to get used to making your own or buying an alternate. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have a lot of manufacturing in this country. I think the part that makes me realize that this could very well be true is the chicken farms that have had fires, the lack of formula for moms and their babies. Do I think there's a political situation going on? I'm not sure how to answer that. Let's just say people like to control others, not just in the world, but also in our jobs, in relationships. Oh my goodness, there are people that like to control people. And I find it to be sad to live in a world that is so self-absorbed. But in saying all this, I think we need to understand that you have a choice. If you want to believe that this is going to happen, then do something about it. Do not be shamed by those who have big farms, because they've been doing this for years. Do what you can, and don't be ashamed of that. And I know I've talked about this before. But it's the topic of choices is right in that category. Now, today I'm going to be canning some more potatoes from my farm stand haul that I got, because I'm trying to grow potatoes, but the first batch didn't do so well, so I'm sure there was something that I did wrong. So I'm trying again, and it's not going to produce a lot because the sweet potatoes, I had 6 slips that I planted. This time I think I have allergies, like my husband. My nose itches a lot, but but there's other things that are coming along quite nicely. So you can have a garden, you can have a patio garden. And what I really found disheartening from this other YouTuber who has a huge garden and kind of came down hard on people who don't have a garden like her, I felt ashamed of, for those of us who like to garden, because it was like, that's not our job. If people have a busy life, see the same news that we see, hear the same information, you choose. Now, could you be in a situation where you can't find food? That's possible. But there's a lot of individual farmers and other people that you can still purchase from. But also, you're going to be paying a heavier price as time goes on, because there's no stopping this. This is a roller coaster ride that I don't know where the end's going to be. But we already see price increases. And if you don't see a price increase, you see packages are smaller. I noticed that I bought my husband some graham crackers, and oh my goodness, and the packages are smaller than they once were. And I was looking at it, I said, honey, you're not even getting the amount we used to pay for. That's how manufacturers do it. That's how they raise their prices. They give you smaller packages for the same amount of money. That's economics 101. That's what they do to help you to think that you're getting your dollar's worth, and you're not. But many people have noticed this, not just this last year or two, but in years past. They've been doing this for a long time. Years ago, it was the ice cream. It wasn't a half gallon. It's no longer a half gallon. And if you haven't noticed that, take a look. But you also have choices in your medical care. You can choose holistic means, and you can choose allopathic, and you can choose a mixture of both. They both complement each other, and that's my choice. There's a lot of people who don't choose allopathic at all. Now, I have seen a change in allopathic medicine that has saddened my heart. I love a lot of people that have been in this for years. They love healthcare, but it's changed so much, and I don't like going anymore. So do I still choose to go? There are some things that I still choose to go. But I also choose to continue to learn about herbs, nutrition, and everything, because you're never too old to learn about new things. And I have learned a lot. I mean, we're talking 8-10 years ago, I started on this journey of using holistic means to help myself. I was actually on it before, this time frame. I was actually doing stuff like this before I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. But once that came in, I got more involved in it. It was exhausting because at that time I was so chronically fatigued and in pain. It was hard to read a book, but I was reading and I was learning. But that's the other thing. In healthcare, you have a choice to educate yourself. You have a choice to request a conversation with your care provider. I know those appointments are 20 minutes, but you can request a longer one. And if you're there, you need to speak up for you. You need to be an advocate. You have that choice. If they shun you, you know what? They're not right for you. Other areas of choices, like we chose to get chickens. Crazy chickie late. Why did I do that? I had been talking to my husband about it for a while. I wanted chickens and I wanted rabbits. I wanted them both for meat and eggs. The rabbits would produce compost material, because their droppings you can use immediately and they're fabulous. And you can use them for meat. So my husband asked me not to get rabbits right now because he didn't really want to be working on the meat part. And so we chose to do chickens. And our town only allows 5 chickens. I think I've shared that before. But I did that. And why did I do it? Well, I've been seeing the prices of eggs go up in the market. And the ones that I can eat are the farmer's market, are the ones that are grown at the farm. And then I was starting to learn about various farms in the area. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. But anyways, I did not have a problem paying up to $6 for a dozen eggs. I didn't have a problem with it. Then they went up to 8, and then there's another place that charges 10. I can't afford that. Now, I can consume the fresh eggs. The store-bought ones I have a hard time with. And then I saw that the birds were being killed. There's fires. There's bird flu. There's all kinds of stuff coming out. And I just said to my husband, I said, I'm done. I am done. It is time for us to get chickens. He goes, Laura. I said, I know. It's going to be an investment. The chickens, the pullets were not expensive. And of course they're adorable. If you hear that chirp, chirp, chirp in the grain stores, it's like music calling you. And I'm glad that we got the chickens. I truly am. Now, they'll cost us food. And fortunately, I don't have a problem giving them my scraps. I only got a handful of raspberries today. I was going to eat them, and then I just said, I'm just going to throw them in their pen. And they loved them. Now, could I have just consumed them? Yeah, I'm just not that person. I give them to my husband. I give them to the chickens. I have some in the freezer. Not a lot, but I have some in the freezer. Plus, I prefer to put them on something, so a handful. I don't like eating them straight necessarily. I like them in a smoothie, yogurt, or, whatever it is that I choose for the day. And I like them in a granola mix. But I decided, no, I'm just going to give them to the chickens. And so they're enjoying them. Or they did, really quickly. But chickens were a choice. And the coop and the run did cost us money. Again, that was an investment. Wood has gone crazy in pricing. Now, we can blame the seller, but we have to understand there's a whole thing that's been going on for years. And I have never had a problem paying people for what they charge unless it's ridiculous. And that comes from me being a business owner for 22 years. And I dealt with people who complained about my pricing. And all I could say was, I'm sorry, I come with experience, I have education, I have this, I have that, I know what I'm doing. And they would try to nickel and dime me all the time. And some would come here, they'd get their repairs, they'd sign off, they went to a wedding that night. On Monday, they said they had to go to another seamstress. Come on. You didn't have time between here and your destination. There was no time. You waited to the last minute. And this is what consumers do. They cheat business owners, even big companies. People will buy a dress and bring it back with the tags on. I have a problem with people who are that dishonest because I think it's wrong. Now, if you get something and it's damaged, that's one thing. You bring it back and you try to make things right with the company. I had canning jars delivered and they were all broken. I called and I said, this is what happened. I sent them pictures. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't the driver's fault. He said this is the way it was when he put them on the truck. And it's like, why didn't you send it back? Because I ended up having to deal with that. I got my money back for the jars, but nobody paid me to dispose of it. And but that was a legitimate return. Now, I have a problem with people who make a choice to use a service and then complain just because they want their money back. We live in a very selfish society. So when the prices are high, I think consumers have done some of it. What's going on right now is not necessarily consumer driven, but it is a part of it. And it's a part of why some things cost more. I think we need to be wiser about how we spend our money. Again, choice. I try to make sure that what we're purchasing is something that we want. And I think long and hard before I buy something. I check reviews, and if I hear from a friend and they say, hey, we used it, I still wait. There are some things I asked about, and some friends gave me some what they liked, and I just wasn't bought on it. So I didn't get it, So am I upset? No. I was just asking opinions, and was I going to purchase? It was on the back of my mind, and right now I have no interest because I gave it some thought. It's how we taught our girls. We had to teach them to not buy because you had money, but to purchase for quality. And one of the hardest lessons one of our daughters did is she wanted a Barbie doll. She wanted it, she just wanted to buy her own. And she saw one at a retail establishment, and she couldn't afford it. And I said, honey, why don't you wait until it goes on sale? Because it will go on sale. You can save your money until you have enough. So she bought that, but we ended up going into the dollar store afterwards, and she saw those inexpensive dolls. And I said, honey, you do not want to buy that because it will break. And she says, no, I'll take good care of it. And so I looked at my husband. I said, well, the outfit on it is worth $1. Wouldn't you know it? We got into the car and she was playing with it, and it broke. The doll broke. And at that moment, I could have brought it back into the store. Absolutely. But I wanted to teach her a lesson about quality. And so I sat and I talked to her. I said, what can you learn from this? And she wasn't very old. And she says, not everything is made well. And I said, you're right. And I said, and I told you that. I said, but there's something that you got out of this. And, she's in tears. And she goes, what? I said, you do have a few Barbies at home, right? She goes, yeah. I said, that outfit on that doll, you got a new outfit. So you can use that. And that consoled her. But in our conversation, I said, that is why Mommy tells you that you need to save your money for what you desire in life. Now, there are some things that you don't have to spend a lot of money, like paper plates for a gathering. Do I want to spend top dollar? Nope, not really. I just have those plate holders, and I just put them on that, and that's. But we rarely use paper plates, so to me, it's kind of frivolous. Maybe at the kids' graduation parties, we had something with firmer plates and stuff. But for the most part, we don't. But there are some things in this world that you don't need to spend top dollar for. But for things that you want to last, wait. Wait until the time is right or until you have the money. That's just my thought. Now, so the chickens, my husband is a good craftsman. He does well with construction. I do well with plans. We both do well with plans, but I happen to be the one who does a lot of the design, planning type of stuff, and so we work together. And when he hit a point where it's like, Laura, I don't know what to do about this, so, we're both creative people, but I happen to be the one who thinks outside the box to look for a resolution. And I said, just do this. He goes, I didn't give any thought. I said, would it work? And so I wasn't saying he had to do it that way. I said, would it work? And it did. So was it the right way to go about stuff? No, but by the time he got to where he was like, I don't know what to do. We still have to put the lay-in boxes in, the nesting boxes. And I was planning that out because we needed a coop for them so they would be outside the house. I don't like chickens in my house. But it was a choice of how we went to do it. So we chose the chickens, we chose the coop, we've made choices along the way, trying to be economical all along. And we're doing that. We also have, the other thing with the chickens, though, is I made that choice because I couldn't afford, when it gets up to $12 a dozen, I can't afford that. If my husband wants 2 eggs and a slice of bread, or toast for breakfast, that becomes, it's not, one meal, it's not that bad. But if all the foods that we consume get to that kind of inflation rate, it's going to be hard for a lot of people. So this is something that I can use when I'm baking bread or not, baking a dessert, cooking. He likes quiche, so I make him a quiche 1 or 2 times a year, 1 or 2 times a month. He loves quiche. I try to make it just once a month for him because of all the cheese. And there's other things I use eggs for. And because we're growing them and we know what kind of food is going into them, my stomach does better with these eggs. So I said, the investment will pay for itself. But that's a choice. And we could be able to sell some eggs too. So will we get our money back? I don't think anybody who sells eggs ever get their money back. But we can sell at a fair price to cover some of our costs. And at the rate things are going, I'm not going to sell them for $1 a dozen. No, it will be a fair price. But will we sell them? I don't know. One of the things I want to do is to preserve them so that I forgot what it's called. Is it water bathing? Whatever it is. I plan on doing that because that preserves eggs for a long time. So if something happened to the chickens or something. Now the chickens, they lay about 4 to 5 years, the type that we got. And I'm excited about it. I feel like it was a good investment. It also gets me out of bed. And there are days, even today, I did not want to get out of bed. I was tired. Then again, I was up till 2 o'clock and I was preserving potatoes. Nutso. But I want to get it done. I still have more to do. Anyways, there's choices about work. You can choose to stay with your job or you can move on. Nobody is married to their job. We believe that because it used to be if you stayed with a company, there would be rewards, there would be benefits, but I've left jobs because how I've been treated. And, I said no to clients because of how they treated me. Nobody deserves to be treated with disrespect. And the reason my husband left his job after 26, maybe 28 years, things were changing there. It's a business environment that's not as stable as it once was. It never paid the greatest either, but it was right down the street. It was easy enough, and he didn't want to leave it. And then when he got unhappy, I said, honey, you're coming home miserable. And I said, you have to make a choice. If you want to be happy, you have to make a choice. And he goes, he gave me his excuse, and I said, I respect that. But I said, you have to make a choice because being around you is not making me happy either. And when you're married, you should be working together to try to make life bearable or at least fun. And that doesn't mean life is always fun. It just means that when you're together, you try to make the best of situations. And so he thought about it, and he looked, he got a job offer. He went for a job interview on a Saturday, and he got a job offer the following Monday. So the timing was perfect. He likes his job. They treat him well. But since the economy has changed such that we still have to be very careful with our resources. But would he change? I asked him, I said, would you change it all over again? He goes, no. He says, this job is a great job. It's a great company, and the people I work with are fabulous. He's got his second family. He needed that. And he liked the guys he worked with. That's not the issue. But he likes how he's treated, not laterally, but also from the top down. And that's where you need to be. My daughter asked me one time, she was working a couple of jobs. She was getting ready to go to college. And she worked for a company, and they were treating her bad, really bad. And I'm just like, I'm holding my breath because it's like, I wouldn't put up with that. And so she asked me, she goes, Mom, what do I do? She goes, this is what's going on. And I said, quit. She goes, but you've always taught me never to quit something I started. I said, when you start something like a history project, you got to start from beginning to end. You got to finish that. When you start anything that there is an ending, you need to finish it. I said, but when it comes to a job, they don't own you unless you allow them to own you. You need to understand that you can say, I'm done. And if they treat you bad, you don't have to give them notice. I know that's the common thing. Most of us give notices. I believe in giving notices. But they treated her really bad. I said, then you call in and you say, I'm not taking it anymore. I'm done. Because you see, you have a choice to not be abused. You have a choice not to be taken advantage of. And God doesn't want you to be abused. Whether you believe in him or not, you are a child of God. And he does not desire that for many of us. So she quit that job and she came home. Mom, she goes, I feel so great. When we have a job that makes us miserable, it destroys living, loving life. It destroys that. She did have another job at a bookstore that she just absolutely adored. And she adored the people who she worked for. It was a good opportunity. And when that store closed, she went to another store. And, well, my kids are bookworms. Yeah, David's not as much as I am, but all us girls are bookworms. We love to read. Right now, mine is more into tending to the house, doing new things, creating things. Like my next project is going to be making a natural dehydrator using the sun. That's my next project. And that's something I'm learning, prepping type of stuff. But I also learned how I never canned potatoes before. So I decided I'm going to learn how to put them up, because this way I know what's in my potatoes. And that's a good thing. It's a choice. Not everybody's going to do that. Other people may want to just go and get all that in a can. See, canning my potatoes, I can make the way I'm doing it. I'm chopping it into bite-sized pieces. I can make potato salad. I can make stir fries. I can make hash browns. I can put it in soups. I can put it in stews. So that's why I did it. I've tried canned potatoes before, and they're okay. I haven't stir-fried them, but they always have a tinny taste. And mine won't, because they're in jars. So I'm excited about it. I've canned some already. I have a few more to go. But that's a choice. Not everybody wants to do that. And so, but we have choices in our cars. And, like I said, some people are choosing to garden. Some people are choosing to use farm stands. With this food shortage, I want you to take a look at your choices and make a decision and be comfortable with it. Because if it does turn out to be a Y2K2, which I don't believe it's going to be, you won in the end. And for those who are over prepping, so they have extra food for the following year. I think we need to always be prepared. God tells us to be prepared. Can I feed an army? No. David and I eat like birds, except when I'm stressed. I will bake, or I'll eat too much of a good thing. So I'll go back and I'll have 2 salads. So the salad isn't the problem, it's the dressing. Or if I add other things to it. I like granola. I could eat double the granola when I'm stressed. So, but for the most part, my husband and I are very conservative in how much we consume for food. So we don't need as much as some people might. But that, I think we need to, I'm not telling you what to do, by the way. These are just my thoughts. This is just my reflection on what's gone on this week, more information that's out there. I don't like people who fearmonger. I don't like it at all. I don't like people to make others feel guilty that they don't have enough. And will David and I have enough? I don't know. But I also know that if it's looking really bad, we just cut back. Like a store-bought can of peas. That might feed both of us for one serving, or it might serve us for 2 meals each. It's just all a matter of how Dave and I have always we've had good times and bad times. And so we have learned, and I've always been this way actually, is you learn how to make ends meet. And you prepare for when you have a downtime. We worked for a manufacturing company, furniture manufacturing, and they got laid off every summer. And the first few times we weren't used to it, and you don't get as much on unemployment. So your bills have to be paid differently. So you preserve, or you put on your shelves extras for those moments. We never have to go run to the grocery store when there's a snowstorm coming in, because we might not have any milk, because David drinks milk. We might not have any creamer for coffees. We might not have bread, but I can make bread, and I can, I think we have some dry milk. We can make milk. I have some goat milk for myself in cans that I just decided I'm going to have a few of those. Those are some of the things that I've picked up. It's just stuff that, but we have always been able to say, okay, we can get by this week. We can get by for a few more days. So, but others who haven't or can't. So I just want to say I'm sorry for those who are pressuring you and you can't afford what they're suggesting. I apologize, because that is not appropriate. There are many, though, that are teaching you how to grow food. Can you grow in containers? If that's the space you have, you absolutely can. If you grow potatoes in a container, will you get the same amount as somebody who can grow it in the ground? Probably not. But every slip averages, this is what I learned, averages 8 to 10 potatoes, depending on the potato. But also, when you overcrowd stuff, some things don't grow. You might get small potatoes in that aspect. But it doesn't mean that you can't grow. And you can grow from potatoes that, have the eyes growing. You can grow from that. I have celery coming back that I chopped. I harvested the top of them. I dehydrated them for soups, stews, and making celery salt. But I left the bottoms. I didn't replant them. I just left them there. And they're about 6 inches tall now. So it's kind of like, thank you, God. But not everybody can do that. And not everybody's apartment has southern-facing windows. Even my windows, they have a film. So I have a hard time growing in my house. I've tried. It just doesn't work. So we need lighting, which I did for my microgreens. I can do that for the microgreens. So I have to grow outside if I want to have foods that I'm comfortable with. I have to go to the farmers markets when I can't grow something if I want to have that food. It's a choice. But I do highly recommend that you don't buy foods that you won't eat. Dave and I don't eat macaroni and cheese. We have a few boxes because our grandchildren like it, but even still, when they visit, we generally don't have macaroni and cheese for them. But it's there as an emergency backup. How many do we have? I think it's just 4 or 6. And Y2K, I saw people buying it by the case lot, and they never ate it, but that's what they were going to eat if they had to. I just thought it was kind of weird, because you should buy food that you're going to eat. I wanted to go into some other choices. Vacation. Oh, vacations. If you like to vacation, don't be shamed into what you're doing. Dave and I don't vacation. We'd like to. It's just, when we vacation, we like to go, we used to camp, and I would still camp, but I prefer like a cottage, or if not a cottage, like a, yeah, like brain fog. You know, we would just like to be able to go someplace. We did a B&B the last time we did something, and that was really nice. It was a secluded house outside somebody else's house, and it was well insulated and everything. And that was, their kids lived there for a while until they were able to afford their own home. So they started doing the B&B, and we did the Airbnb, and it was lovely. There was water off. We were able to go up to Acadia, Maine, because it was in that vicinity, and it wasn't that expensive. It was affordable for us. Beautiful owners. They treated us so well. So regardless of your choices with what's going on in the world for medical intervention, medical choices, herbs, allopathic, holistic, whether you choose to stock food, to go on vacation, to purchase new jeans versus going to the thrift store, those are all choices, and you have a right to that. And I don't think that we should all be shamed into what we're going to do. I do think, for myself, honoring God is the most important. Now, one scripture verse I would like to finish with is Proverbs 18, chapter 18, verse 13. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. Now, so many people will interrupt other people. I have had people ask me questions, and they're having a conversation, and before I can get my answer out, they're interrupting me. Or if I give them an answer, and I'm trying to get better about it, I know that this video is a little longer than I planned, it's like they don't want to hear. So I shut down, not in an insecure way. It's just that if somebody doesn't want to listen, then why should I exert so much energy in trying to help them when they ask for my help? So I just don't. And if they're telling me how their answer, then I'm not helping them. So I just feel like, no, not a good thing. But we need to be listeners to each other, whether it's with the situation that's going on right now, the food shortages. We need to be very careful to listen. You make your choices. Try to choose people you trust to give you the right information so that you are wise about your choices. Now, not everybody. I know some people who can't go to the grocery store and stock up. They want to. They can't. But they're aware of it, so they're picking up a little bit here and there, and they've been doing it for a while. What they have, they might have to depend on family or something like that, but they're trying. I think the people who are trying, they will be rewarded. It's the people who say, nothing's going to happen, and then they're going to depend on everybody else who's been working their fannies off. That is inappropriate. So make choices. Work hard at your job. The people you work with, whether they're customers, patients, co-workers, superiors, or whatever, be kind. Work together. There's no reason to have what has happened in our world. There's no reason for it, but it's here. And the more it happens, the more I like being home. The more I don't want to go out. Is that sad? I guess so. But in a way it's not, because I've started to see the true nature of people. So I don't want to dwell on a negative. I just want you to be encouraged that we have choices, but we also have the choice to hope. We have hope in all things, in God. We have hope in the world becoming better. And I do believe that we're going to go through some hard times. I believe that it will get better, and yet it will get bad again, because this is life. So I hope that you've been encouraged, and I truly pray that this message is more about allowing you the freedom to make choices with no shame. And just be aware of how you use your resources. That I'm sorry, I always am that way. And be kind to people. If you don't like how they're doing something, let it be their issue. You don't have to agree with everything. But you can choose to be nice. Both, everybody. Remember the days when we used to be that way? Oh, and as I've shared, my husband and I, we make choices. A lot of times it's mostly together. Sometimes we make choices on our own and the other person's disappointed. And sometimes one of us could make a choice that really hurts the other person. And so that causes a little bit of a conflict. And yet we have the choice. Do we try to talk it through and resolve it? Or do we just stay mad forever? There's no happiness in being mean. There's no happiness. There's no joy in being angry all the time just because somebody didn't do it your way. And there's some things that I don't like that what other people have done to me. I've spoken up. I'm an advocate for myself. And I have learned that in some areas, it's not worth it. And what do you do in a situation like that? It depends on the situation. And sometimes you just have to do the minimal to get through it and then move on. And then there's times you can walk away. So make your choices. Don't burn bridges. Burning bridges will never gain you anything. And I've reminded my husband of that often when I said, just be quiet. That when he was working at his other job, I said, be silent. Don't say anything. Because when we say stuff and we're down and we talk bad about other people, because that's where he was, I said, I can't talk to you when you're talking down. And I don't like being around people who are always negative. I don't like being negative. So I guess even this conversation is hard in the sense that I'm talking about some things that are not comfortable to talk about. But I hope that it's coming across, and please tell me your give me some feedback of how you see things going on. And I ask that you be kind in your comments, because we all come into this world differently. We come in with different backgrounds. We all have a heart though, and we have a choice that we can be kind to one another. So I would love if you would subscribe. It helps my channel get seen. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. And for those who are worried about your privacy, you can change your name. And when you subscribe and you're not an actual YouTuber, it doesn't show up on me. It just shows me that there's another subscriber, if that gives you any whatever. And if you comment, you can or not share your name. Your ID will show up. But, if you're somebody I know and you left initials, I could probably know who you are. I have a friend who's on it and she uses a different name. And that's okay. We need to, because I won't shame anybody. As you notice, I haven't even mentioned businesses that have hurt my daughter, because I won't do that. But if you want to comment that with something that could be helpful, I would really appreciate that. So your comments, you subscribing to my channel, liking any of my posts, those are all helpful. And if you're not one to write a comment, just a thumbs up will help my channel. Now, am I making money on this? No, I don't have 1,000 subscribers. I'm new, and I'm okay with that. And I told my husband, I says, I'm not sure how long I'll do this, because if I don't get the following, then it's not worth my time. And I have some things in the fire that I want to consider, but there's a lot of different dynamics that are going on. And one of the things is to teach people some sewing and to teach people on how to preserve. but there's other sources out there for people. But I was thinking about doing those type of things on YouTube, but it would be a different channel where you pay for it. So not a lot of people don't want to pay for stuff like that, but it's my time, and I want to show things, and I want people to know. And it's like buying a book. I pay for the books that I buy. And there's some things that I get for free resources, because there's always people willing to give you some free. And that's why I'm here. What I share is free. But I also want to honor God. And on Sunday, this is my day where I honor God, and I share what's on my heart. And I believe He put this on my heart, because I had no idea what I was going to talk about until a couple of hours before I got on. So I'm going to end this. I'm going to go in and take care of those potatoes. It's nice here in the gazebo, though. It's probably cold and warm in the house. And I'm going to ask that you have a beautiful day. I hope that God honors your day. I hope you honor God. And may God bless you. Be well.